Hello everybody, Abed's brother here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of some old PCs in The Witcher 3. This will be the enhanced version of the game. This was developed by CD Projekt Red, published by CD Projekt, and the enhanced next-gen update was released December 14th, 2022. It uses the Red Engine 3 engine and utilizes DirectX 11 and 12 APIs. You can see the minimum and recommended specs here. This is what's on the Steam store page, but I suspect this is for the old version, not the new version, as you'll find out. For the first test system, we'll be using the A10770K and the FirePro W5100. And this was definitely worse than I expected it would be, because again, my expectations were built on the older version of the game, not the newer one. So you can see here we are at 720p, low settings, and yeah, pretty much everything's at low. So the main problem here though is not going to be the graphics card. You can see we're at a not smooth at all 24 to 30 FPS, and you can see the CPU is maxed. I think this has to do with the upgraded advanced version of the game specifically, because the minimum specifications that are listed on the Steam store list an A105-5800K as a minimum spec CPU, and the 7870K is the same architecture as the 5800K, but it's definitely more advanced, and I don't see how this is anything close to minimum recommended. That has to have been a recommendation for the original version of the game. So yes, that means the minimum and recommended specs were not upgraded on the Steam store page, were not upgraded when they released the update to the game. Now the original version of the game is available through the beta tab. I think it's a beta tab in Steam. And if you want me to test that version, let me know. It won't be the same as this because I don't have a compatible save to play in that, so it'll just be a stretch from the beginning. But here in the updated version, the CPU is pretty much maxed the entire time, and you can see the way the W5100 is bouncing between 100% and 14%, 13%. The W5100 is actually being CPU bottlenecked here. So it definitely could perform better. I would have expected around 30 FPS from the W5100 at 720p low. W5100 does have 4 gigs of VRAM, and you can see we are using about 3.1, so VRAM is not the issue here. This is definitely a CPU issue, so if you have some of these APUs or even an Athlon 860K, 870K, The Witcher 3 is not a game I would recommend for that, at least not the updated version here, because this is really unacceptable, 100% unacceptable performance. I don't even think I could play it like this, and I have a pretty high tolerance for, you know, low spec experiences. This is just not acceptable at all. Next up, we'll be testing the i5-4590 and the GTX 670. Now we're going to a lot more horsepower here, so we will still be at low settings. I think everything in this video is at low settings, actually. But now we're at 900p. So increase some pixel count a little bit. FXAA. Yeah, everything's at low. But 900p, so we gain some resolution here. And let's see. Oh, but we are using DirectX 11, that's right. I did compare the two of them, and DirectX 11 was definitely smoother. I think this is the only game where that is true. Usually DirectX 12 is just the better option, and you'll see that in a minute where I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison on one of these systems. But right now we are right around 30 FPS at 900p. And VRAM is significantly less. That's kind of odd compared to the W5100. Both this and the W5100 have 4 gigs of VRAM. This GTX 670 is a 4 gig model. I'm surprised the NVIDIA card is using less VRAM, though. Especially considering it's at a higher resolution than the W5100 was. But, so far so good. Still haven't... I think we dipped under 30 once. But the i5-4590 clearly able to keep up with things here, and we're staying at 100% utilization on the GPU, so no CPU bottlenecking. I mean, you can see the draw distance, the shadows drawing in the distance kind of looks like crap, but I could play the game like this. I really could. This is playable for me. It's not ideal, and do I recommend it? No, of course not. But if you got a GTX 670 and i5-4590, and you want a game to... Oh, we dipped there. And you want a game to play? I could definitely... I could play Witcher 3 like this. We did dip to 27 there for a minute. But once we're out and back into the countryside here, it looks like we're up to mid-30s. So, I think that's pretty good. GTX 670, it's that's first-gen Kepler. You know, we're talking a very old GPU here in a game that came out... well, this version of the game came out in 2022, and this is, yeah, 29, 27, 28. So long draw distances, still giving it fits, but that's not CPU, that is GPU. Yeah, this is manageable. And I think a pretty good result for the GTX 670. But now we're going to go to the FX-8320e and the Radeon R9 290. Now this is some serious horsepower here, at least for the time. The R9 290 could definitely handle the original version of The Witcher 3 without any issue. We are at 1080p here, and we're at low settings again. So FXAA, motion blur is off, of course. And all low settings, as before. So now for this one, you're going to see this come up in a minute. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison here now of DX11 and DX12. So DX12 gives the higher frame rate. DX11 has a slightly smoother frame time, but either way... I know DX12's frame time graph looks bad, but I actually didn't feel all the stutter that it's showing, so I don't know really what the deal is with that. Alright, so here's the side-by-side. And frame rate kind of looks close at the start, but you can see DX12 jumps higher while DX11 drops lower. So if you're looking for the best response times, DX12 is probably the better option here. And like I said, I didn't really feel a lot of the stutters with DX12 that you think I would, that the frame time graph shows. The other thing is that you notice the frame time graph smooths out through here. And it's going to reappear when we get to the harbor. And there it is. So, again, this wasn't really something I felt when playing it. There could be an issue with water. That's just a guess, because it seemed to show up at the very start of this run when I was by the river. It disappeared in town square, reappeared by the harbor, and now that we're not really rendering any water, it kind of went away again.
What do you seek, pain giver?
But you can see here, DX12 is definitely way ahead of DX11. But no, it's not. Oh, but we're coming out on the river again. And then it's gone. Yeah, I think there's something with the water here and how it renders. Nope, it's back.
Scandalous.
Alright. But DX12 offers the higher frame rate. which is surprising to me. You would think DX11 would have been the better option, just because you know, the architecture, FX chip, and the R9290 were both came out at the height of DX11. You thought maybe that would work better, but it apparently doesn't. A little disappointed. I hope for better, but workable. Now we go to the i7-4790 and the GTX 1060. Now we're getting into the real horsepower, but we are still going to be at 1080p low, except I switched to TAAU and I turned on screen space ambient occlusion. Now, is there something I was going to demonstrate here? I think there is. Yes, so everything's low, but now I want to show you something here. So NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency is off. And you can see here, just standing looking at this picture, mid-50s. 54, 55, 58, 56. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and, no, and turn on Reflex Low Latency. And immediately the frame time graph smooths out. But the frame rate has dropped. It does feel better with Reflex Low Latency turned on. But since I'm going to try to present the best frame rate possible, we're going to turn it off. Because already this is performing worse than I expected, which is a common issue with NVIDIA on Linux. But and again, just like with the R9290, I did not feel the stutter the frame time graph says is there. So I have no idea what is actually happening with the absolute berserk frame time graph that's happening there. But here, going into Novigrad, I think this is Novigrad. It's been a long time since I played Witcher 3. We're in the upper 40s, low 50s. It's actually closer to the R9290 than I expected, which, again, means the GTX 1060 is very much underperforming. But it has the same frame time issue the 290 had. You notice the massive stutter, frame time stutter is pretty much gone. And I bet it's going to reappear as we approach the harbor again. Yep, there it is. So this seems to be an issue with The Witcher 3. We'll see if this shows up on some of our more powerful test rigs, which we'll be getting to in a minute. Yeah, this is... I expected better from the 1060. That's for sure. Just a word to note, VRAM usage is at 3.5 gigs, so if you have a 3 gig 1060, you could run into problems. You'll probably have more stutters as the needed VRAM usage would spill over into system RAM. And no, we're at 97-98% utilization, so technically the 1060 is not being bottlenecked by the i7-4790. It's just I guess NVIDIA just performs that much worse in Linux. Kind of disappointing, actually, that that'll never be fixed, since the 580 NVIDIA driver is the final driver for Pascal graphics cards. Passable performance, but disappointing. Now let's go to the i7-5930K and the Vega 64. Vega has not let us down yet. Every video that I've made, every game I've tested, Vega has been easily the best value graphics card I've tested. So we are at, it says 4K here, but I am running FSR2 at quality. So FSR2 quality at 4K is 1440p. And I did the math on it once. It's not exactly 1440p. I think the vertical is 1444 pixels, so 1444p, whatever, it's 1440p. So at 1440p low, DirectX 12 with screen space ambient occlusion, we can't hold 60 FPS. That's disappointing. We might be slightly CPU bottlenecked. Let's see what happens when we ride through the city here. Most of my playing of The Witcher 3 was done with the original version. I honestly don't see much change. I think there's a little bit better ultra-wide support with the updated version. And of course ray tracing. And I heard they added a new quest from that garbage Netflix show they made of The Witcher, but nope, the same frame time issue. We come into the market, the stuttering's gone, we still can't hold 60 FPS. And no, I'm not really seeing CPU bottlenecking here. It just can't hold 60 FPS at 1440p. And it's back. Very confusing. Definitely the best performance we've had so far. I'm looking at core temps on the Vega. We're definitely stressing it. 92C hotspot. That's what it gets when the GPU is working hard. Yeah, maybe if I turned off ambient occlusion, it might run a bit better. But I feel like if you're playing on a Vega 64, you should be able to turn that on, at least on a basic setting. Pretty impressive. Good performance from Vega. Good performance, but it's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a locked 60, so I was hoping for, you know, 65 to 70 FPS going through Novigrad there, and could not get it. And you can see it here. We turn around. We're in the mid to upper 50s. So that's definitely less than I was expecting. That's too bad. Maybe, though, this will be another big win for Intel Arc. Let's find out. Now we'll test the Ryzen 5 5500 and the Intel Arc A770. So for this one, I used pretty much the same settings as with Vega. So we're at 4K, but we're using FSR2 quality. XeSS did not provide as good a frame rate. But there is one thing I want to show you here. So screen space reflections are at low. Now this was something that was an issue with every GPU I tested. I'm just showing you here. So with screen space at high, we're at 45, 46 FPS standing here. But now if I turn screen space off, still at the same settings there. If I turn screen space, well, not off, but to low, you can see we jumped to the mid-60s. So, well, just standing at that scene, we jumped to the mid-60s. So we're getting about the same frame rate we got with Vega. Mid to upper 50s. But for some reason, we do not have the frame time stutter on the graph that we had with literally every other GPU in this test. So there's something Intel figured out here for running this game on the A770, at least using Proton and Vulkan, that the other vendors have not.
Looking to make some coin too.
So I would say, again, we're even being a little bit CPU bottlenecked. You can see we're we're around 9,700%, but you're going to see, I think it's by the harbor, it's going to dip to about 90. So the CPU is holding it back a little bit. We're getting a little bit better frame rate than Vega. So based on this, yeah, we're dipping into the 50s, and you can see Arc usage has dropped to 85 to 90% usage. So we are a little bit CPU bottlenecked here. But based on this, I'm going to call this one a win for Intel Arc because the frame time graph is smoother and everything in the game just feels and plays correctly. You know, there's no excuses here. There's no, oh, it looks bad but feels fine kind of stuff. No, this is just straight up pretty good. If only it could hold 60 FPS the entire time, but if you get a little bit faster CPU or overclock the Ryzen 5500 a little bit, you might be able to get it up over that 60 FPS hump. Not the greatest result from the A770 compared to like Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor or Doom 2016, where it was between 20 and 30% faster than Vega. I mean, that's basically extraordinary results for the Arc A770. But this is a pretty good result. You know, Arc had a big misfire with Starfield, and I'm feeling like, we need to see if we can find some more games it does better in. So, the A10 7870K definitely holding back the FirePro W5100, and a lot of these systems I felt like underperformed. With NVIDIA, I'm feeling like that's the result of the NVIDIA driver, NVIDIA's Linux driver, basically bottlenecking the GPU. And with Radeon, I have no idea what's going on. Radeon is usually very, very good in Linux, and here they were okay, but Intel really has Witcher 3 figured out, at least on Linux here. This is, again, nothing stellar, nothing groundbreaking, but for Witcher 3 on Linux, Intel Arc A770 was clearly the best choice out of this lot. That's all I got for you today. Hope this video was useful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.